My wife still doesn't want to talk about this incident. We bought our first house in February of 2010, and we thought that we had hit the jackpot. For a month, the house felt alive, in a good way, like it belonged to us. Then the little things started moving, always upstairs, always in different rooms. At first, I blamed my wife for forgetting where she left things. The house began to creak louder than a new build should ever creak. One night, we stood in the kitchen cooking, and the world fell into a claustrophobic quiet. I shut off the tap, and a single cough came from the second floor. There were no visitors, no children, no TV. Every window was sealed tight. The sound sounded like a body clearing a throat right above our heads. My skin went cold and my face turned paper white. My wife looked like she had been struck and could barely breathe. Almost by instinct, I grabbed the sharpest knife in the block. She whispered to 911 with the same voice she uses when she's about to cry. We told the operator that we thought someone was upstairs. The police finally arrived before the fear could rot us. An officer crept up the stairs with his gun drawn and called out his presence. We searched every bedroom and closet with flashlights trembling. The house was mocking us with silence until the attic hatch popped in my office closet. I watched the folding attic steps descend like a trapdoor to something waiting. The officer peered in with his light, and then he froze. There was a man kneeling in the attic looking back at him as if he had been waiting for that exact moment. He had not said a word. He didn't blink. They cuffed him and he never met our eyes. At the station, we finally learned that he was a homeless man who had been living in the house while it was on the market. A realtor had forgotten to lock a door and he had taken refuge there for a month. He hid in the attic when people came through and watched the house as if it were his kingdom. We had been moving in under his roof and never known that he had slept in our walls. Every small noise upstairs was suddenly a footstep where a person had crouched. Every misplaced item was the trace of someone who had touched our things in the dark. The knowledge that a stranger watched us sleep turned every silence into a lie. My wife stopped sleeping in her own bed for months and will not set foot in that closet. I still wake up to this day convinced that I hear someone breathing over my head. Please do not laugh off the bumps in your house at night. Sometimes those bumps are the sounds of a visitor who has never left. When I was little, my parents used to let me stay up late on weekends. I'd watch TV in the living room until I fell asleep. It felt special, like the whole house was mine. One night, I was lying on the couch, half asleep, when I heard something. Something that changed me forever. It was the sound of our porch swing moving back and forth, slow, heavy, creaking against the night. I froze. There was no wind that day, no reason for it to move. I crept toward the bay window and peeked outside. On the swing sat a woman. She wore nothing but a thin nightgown. It was soaked in blood. Her hands dripped with it. In one of them, she held a kitchen knife. My heart almost stopped. I tore down the hallway, screaming, but too panicked to get the words out. I burst into my parents' room, shaking and crying. When I finally choked out what was wrong, my dad got angry. He said it was just a dream. He grabbed my arm and dragged me toward the front door to prove it. I kicked and begged, but he kept pulling me. He yanked the door open and started to say, "See, there's nothing." And then she turned. The woman stood up slowly, the porch light hitting her face. Her eyes were wide and empty. She stared right at us, gripping the knife. He slammed the door shut, told my mom to call the police, and ran for his shotgun. When he came back, he cracked the door open just enough to point the barrel out. He demanded to know what she was doing. Her voice was quiet, almost calm. "Somebody killed my husband," she said, "but it wasn't me." Then she turned and just walked away. The police found her 15 minutes later trying to break into a neighbor's house. Later, we'd heard she'd attacked her husband, maybe tried to hurt herself too. Nobody ever told us the full story, but I'll never forget that night. The bloody nightgown, the knife glinting in the porch light, the sound of that swing moving slowly in the dark. I never slept in that living room again. My father had died when I was 12. My mom stayed alone for more than 10 years until she met a man and married him in 3 months. She seemed happy, and I wanted to be happy for her. So when she invited my fiance and me to spend a weekend at her new house in upstate Virginia, I said yes. The place sat on hundreds of acres of rolling hills. From the road, it looked like a postcard. Up close, it felt wrong. The air was too still. The sky seemed farther away. I told myself just about anything to ignore the tightness gathering under my ribs. He was polite and charming and way too eager to please. He showed us every single room like a man who wanted us to see how perfect his life was. My fiance laughed and pretended to relax. I wandered into the yard because I felt safer outside. The fields spread dark and empty, and the house watched us from the hill like a thing that had been waiting. That night, me and my fiance showered together. I remember the water and the steam and the ordinary closeness. Then, mid-sentence, my fiance asked me what I had done to my back. I turned and saw a bruise. It was large and raw and impossibly shaped. Someone had pressed a hand into the middle of my back with fingers splayed, tilted like a claw. I had not been touched. Not that day, not in any way that could bruise me. We finished the shower without talking. The bedroom had one window that looked out over a field so open and black that it felt endless. I hung a sheet over the glass because I could not shake the idea that someone might be looking in. Lying under the covers, I could still feel phantom fingers. I woke up in the morning and could not stop crying. The sound came out of me like something broken. My fiance tried to make me stay. He tried logic and reason, and I listened, and I hated myself for the hysterics. But I could not breathe in that house. We packed and left before noon. The drive away felt like leaving a weight behind. I felt stupid and ashamed until he asked me again about that bruise. He had looked at it closer, and the shape was impossible. It matched the memory in my chest, fingers at a tilt. No one had touched me. 3 weeks later, my mom came to visit. I told her everything because the shame had nowhere to hide. Her face turned white the moment that I finished. Her voice shook so badly that she could barely speak. She told me that she had been feeling the same way in that house, that she hated it, that she wanted to move as soon as possible. Then she said the thing that made the blood in my veins stop. His previous wife had shot herself right outside in the very field our window faced. She had died in that open plain at dusk, the dark swallowing the sound. I can still feel the tilt of those phantom fingers. I can still hear the field breathe, wide and patient, as if whatever happened there had not ended at all.